Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to look at Classrooms, the new Google Classrooms app. Well, not brand new, but it's definitely relevant to our topics. So to begin, I'm logged in as my instructor. I just went to the classroom. I've created it as a shortcut as you might have seen in previous videos. But if I scroll down from this little button over here, the 9 dots, I can just simply scroll down and I can click on Classroom to go to the same link. I just made it as a shortcut when my browser starts up. You can see that in previous videos as well. So from here it says we don't see any existing classes. Might try another account. No, we want to create a new class. So we can click on this button over here and select create a class. I'm going to say I've read and understand the notice that they've given. I recommend that you read through it. We say continue. And we are going to call this one IT Class Grade 8 2020. So you can call it whatever you want to. Let's just spell this 8 out. So it's Grade 8. And you can use the section subject room to add additional information to the class, but the only thing that's required is the class name. So we're going to say create, and it will now create our class for us. So in earlier videos we went through Google Drive and we went through Calendar. If you haven't watched those videos yet, please go and view them first, because we're going to skip over some of those features. So very importantly, as soon as we go into it for the first time, it tells us over here, invite students to your class and they can use this code to join. Now, as we can see, this code has got an L in it, but you might think it's a 1. So it can be a very difficult code that you might want to use. So if I click on this button, it amplifies it for me, and I can highlight and right click and copy it, or Control C to copy it. However, I'm going to change the code because I think people might make mistakes if they try to enter it. So I'm going to go to settings over here. So at the top right corner, there's a settings button. And underneath it, we can change the class description. So I'm going to say, yeah, IT class for school, whatever you want to call your school. Grade 8 year 2020, something like that. So you can add additional features or things in there. But to get back to the class code, if we click this downwards arrow button, we can say reset. And let's see what code we get now. So now at least the I is clear. If you still don't like it, you can say reset again. This one looks a lot easier. V2HRUWW. Well, I hope you think it's easier as well. But for me, it looks a lot easier. So now I've got a new class code. I can press save. And on my initial screen, you see it immediately displays it. And I can now use this class code to add more people. So you can share it in an email. If a student wants to join the class, so let's add a student for now. They can simply go to classes and press continue on the first screen. They can simply select join a class, click on join a class, and the email that you've sent them would have the code. They can say join. And they would be part of this class. Now, we'll get to how that's important later. Let's change a couple of things on our initial stream screen. So the first thing I want to change is the theme. So I'm going to say select a theme and make it something more IT related. There's all sorts of various different areas that you can select to get different types of pictures for a theme across. But you can also upload a photo. If you want a photo of your institution with your own logo and whatever you want in here, You can say upload a photo and make it something more personalized to your institution, your business, or whatever it might be. I can immediately start by sharing something with the class. So because I already have a student, if I want to share something, I can either share it with other instructors, or I can share it potentially with, well, it can be sharing for something specific. For my IT class, I only have one class, so I can't share it with different classes right now. But right now I can send it to specific students or instructors, or to all students. So I'm just going to say here, hi guys, welcome to the class of 2020. Hope you enjoy learning IT. There we go. So if the class hasn't started yet, I can simply say, all right, let's schedule it to send this post at a specific time, or maybe working late one evening and I want to send this as the initial post for the next morning. I can schedule it to send later. If I want to send it immediately, I can simply post. If I say, for instance, please go through the following video before we start, and the video can be about our institution, I can then say add and go and select a video that I've maybe uploaded to YouTube, or go and select a specific file, link to somewhere like a web page. This is normally very helpful to share certain web content, like for APA citation or something if you're in a university institution, and Google Drive to link to specific drives that content that you've shared on the Google Drive. This specific IT class created its own Google Drive, but we'll get to that in a moment. But you can link content from your own Google Drive as well, your personal one that we've created earlier on. But let's say we want to share a YouTube video. So I'm going to say learn IT and search for something. And let's see what pops up. Fundamental of IT, complete IT course for beginners. All right, let's add that video in there. This is just the first video that popped up. And I can then say post. My student that's already enrolled on the course, if we refresh over here, it pops up every now and then. It refreshes by itself as well, by the way. Then they would have seen it. So yeah, they can also create posts. And from here we can see my instructor send this over here, and you can start watching this video. Yeah, that's about it for now. So let's move on. How do we use classrooms? If I go to class work, this is where I would create all of the content that I want to assign to my students, give them links to material like textbooks or online resources. All of that is created over here. We've got access to a class drive folder directly within Google Drive, which, by the way, if I go to Google Drive, I would see if I open up my drive, there's a classroom. So this, bear in mind, my class 2020 is my personal file that I've created earlier on in a video and added to various different instructors and students in the various different folders. However, classroom, every single classroom that I create creates a folder as well. And there I can see I've got IT class grade 8 2020 that's been created in classroom already. Even if I archive a classroom, which we'll see in later videos, I would still have the folder in there because of the content being created and potentially students that still need that content. So let's go back over here. So if I click class drive folder, it takes me to that link, my drive, classroom, IT class grade 8 2020. So here, all the content that I want to create, it might be a nice and easy way to store it. My students already have access to it. Google Calendar simply opens Calendar. We've already explained Google Calendar. I can schedule certain events, set up reminders for my students, schedule classes that I want to stream in various other formats. Potentially, I can use Google's Hangout streams, which we haven't really touched on yet, but we'll do that in later videos. Or I can schedule events in my Google Calendar for things like Discord that we'll discuss in the later videos as well, Zoom that we'll discuss in later videos as well. So all of these different formats, I can schedule my classrooms, I can schedule when assignments should be done. However, I don't need to schedule when assignments should be done in Google Calendar because that will happen within the assignment itself. So before we go into classwork and how we create it, let's go to people. So within people, I can see currently I've got one teacher, Tiny2 instructor, which is my favorite teacher over there. But I want to add Mr. or Mrs. Owl, so I can click the plus over here and I can start typing. So there we go. Tiny instructor 1 is one of my contacts that I've created in the contact lists earlier. So I click Tiny Instructor and I say invite. Tiny Instructor 1, which has already got their own class, can then accept the invitation. So let's do that first. Let's go to our OWL instructor. And invitation to Team Teach IT Class Grade 8. So I can say join. And I can say accept. Do you want to co-teach this class? Yes, please. And we just wait for it to finish. There we go. This instructor also now has access as a teacher to this course. So let's go back to our current main teacher. There we can see it's accepted and I can see the various different teachers in there. Currently I only have one student, so you can use the code like we said and share it with a student. Or I can use the invite button and simply go through my contacts and say, all right, I want student 1, I want student 2, and student 3 is already there. So I can say invite. They would also receive invites. And let's accept the invite for student 2. Say join. And let's accept the invite for student 3 and say join as well. So your students simply get an invite and they just need to join. And as soon as the join goes through, we'll see that they are part of the class. I can maybe just refresh over here and we'll see it. This automatically refreshes with time as well. But it seems it's still going through. Oh, I need to say join. Forgot to say join. Second switch to make sure. Do you want to join the class? Alright, so now it should have gone through. So let's refresh again. And there we've got all our students that have now joined. If we now go to classwork, and this is where we're going to start, we're going to go through the basic settings. We'll do videos and content every week to add onto this and be topic specific. So please send in your questions to the links below and we'll start creating more content and specific to what you require as well. So let's say we want to create a new class. We click on the create button, or content within our class rather, and we'll normally start with creating a topic to sort the different areas into various different topics. A good idea would be to start with materials, but I just don't want to have my materials posted without it being sorted in an orderly fashion, categorized as we would call it. I would go to create topic, and the first topic that we're going to add is class. Now let's not say textbooks, let's say all material, class material. And within the material you can see once I've created a new topic, students can't see this topic yet because it doesn't have any topics that's been published yet. And what they mean with that is if I create new content, so let's say create material as an example, I need to state that this material belongs to the topic class material. If it doesn't belong to anything, it simply sits at top. I think it's unneat, but you can make it that way if you want to. So class material for all my students. And let's give it a description. I'm going to say this is text books. Give it an initial description. Please find text books attached for IT class of 2020 grade 8 students. Good luck. And we can then say add something from Google Drive as an example. So let's say add Google Drive for now. And if I go to my drive, I can see that I've got Classroom that's been created now. So if I enter Classroom, it's got IT class, but no content's been created there yet. If I go back to my drive, I can go to my class of 2020. I can go to grade 8 students. Let's imagine subject 1 is my first subject. So I'm going to enter subject 1. So let's change the order here a bit. Let's say by name. It was according to date created, so that's why it looked a bit strange. So by name makes more sense. But in any case, subject 1, term 1, and week 1. And we want to create reading assignments. So technically this is a reading assignment, but we can use the content. Let's imagine this is a PDF or a book that I want to add. So I added the resource in there. I can then decide to immediately post it by simply clicking the post button, or I can schedule it. And if I schedule it, let's look at that. If I say schedule it, I can decide for a specific date, like the 20th for me is Monday morning. And at 8 a.m. I can schedule it. I'm not going to do that. Material needs to be available from the start. So I'm just going to say post immediately. I can also, if I want to add additional content, so I can click the add button again. I'm going to use Google Drive for now again. Go to my drive, my class, grade 8. Let's just sort this by name again. Subject 1, term 1, and week 1. If I go to reading assignments, let's also post book Y in there as well. If I wanted to, I can create my own content, but we'll use this in a different post like an assignment. So let's say post. So now that we've posted it, we can see the textbook is available there. And from a student perspective, let's go into one of our students. They've got different tabs at the top. They've got stream, classwork, and people. So if they go to people, they can see over there who are their classmates and who are their teachers in this course. And let's go to classwork and see what we can view. And from here, I can't view anything yet. Let's just have a look, refresh. There we go. So class material, and there's my textbooks. So I can see my textbooks. I can also browse through the topics on the left-hand corner if I've got multiple topics and view the different topics from there. So the topic has got the post a little bit more highlighted, but if I click on class material, it takes me there as well. So there's my books. I can read the message and I can download the content as a student. Now, most importantly, we want to start building our course. We want to add material to it. So for video lectures, you can create them preemptively on YouTube, maybe create a private channel for your grades. We'll talk about that later on. Or we can stream it directly as well, using various different tools like Discord that we'll use. We'll create some templates there as well, and they've got wonderful templates they've created themselves. Or Zoom. But let's create content first. So I'm going to say create an assignment. Ooh, wait. If I create the assignment now, that won't make sense. I want to create a topic first. So let's say create a topic first. The first topic would be assignments. Whoops, if I can spell it correctly. Week 1. So there I've got a topic. I want class material to be at the top, so I'm going to click and hold my mouse in on class material, move it to the top, and now assignments weeks 1 is below it. So let's go and create another topic, and we call this assignments week 2. There we go. If I don't want to drag and drop, I can also use these buttons to the right, and I can say move down, click it again, move down. And now my assignments are according to the week that it's posted in. It doesn't contain any content, so a student, even if they refresh, will not see the new assignments because there's no content added to them yet. So in order for this to work, I need to create content, and the date that it's posted to start in should be reached. So let's say create assignment. I can then say title, what will we call this? IT first discussion forum, something like this, and then say please write about your experience for unit 1 that you have read through. So let's imagine we told them to read through it earlier on. We can then decide to either add content or maybe create our own. So I'm going to say create a document using Google Docs. It's sort of like Word, but it's just Google Docs. So in here, I can then say, please share your thoughts below. This assignment would be graded. And then in there, start text here. So they can start typing their thoughts. I can right click just like in Word. So, or just highlight it with left click and it gives me the correct spelling there as well. So it's helpful for people that make typos like myself. So there's my document. I'm going to call this document, if I click at the top left corner over here, so I'm just going to delete what it says. I'm going to call this document assignment 1. Which is technically a discussion forum, right? But let's imagine it can be a discussion forum. So now that I've created it, I can close it, and it technically created a document for me. If I highlight it over there, you can see it's automatically saved. If I close it, the students would be able to get the document attached. So I can decide, should students view this file? Should students be able to edit this file? Or a very useful feature, make a copy for each student. So I'm going to select make a copy for each student so that every time they go in and change it, it doesn't affect any other students' Google Doc that they've changed. When I mark it later on, I would see the topic has been marked accordingly. How many points do I want to give this? Is it ungraded or is it on a point system? I'm going to use a point system with percentages. So let's say I'm going to assign 10 points to it. And this is for all students. It's not for a specific student, which it could also be. So if you want to give someone a second chance on a specific topic area, you can potentially choose for a specific student. Is there a due date? Let's select a due date by Wednesday next week. You can give a time. I like giving time, so I'm going to say by 5 o'clock as well. For which topic is it? This is for assignments week 1. And we can also add to rubric, but I'm not going to do that right now. And I'm just going to say, all right, let's assign it immediately for this specific assignment. I'm also going to create a second assignment. So let's say create another assignment. So IT discussion forum week 2. So please do week 2 assignments. We'll have to be a little bit more creative than that. So let's say create another document for now, Google Docs. And this document we are going to call assignment 2 with some text here, just so that we can see there's some text. But you can of course add in what you want them to do and what they need to change. Even if it's just a format, if you attach a Google Doc that you've prepared beforehand with the correct format and the correct wording in it already, you can just simply attach it. So let's close it. It automatically saves it. And again, I'm going to choose the useful feature, make a copy for each student. For this one, it's also going to be graded by 10 points. The due date would be the week after, so the Wednesday, the 29th. Time again, 1700 hours. And the topic area for this one would be assignment week 2. So I don't want them to start this assignment too early. So I'm going to say schedule for the early birds to start, not the first day, but let's say the Friday, the 24th. So if they want to, they've got a potential to start over the weekend if they work ahead. So I'm going to say schedule it, but they won't see it too early so that they at least get their rest. So now I can see this one is scheduled for 24 April, 8 a.m. The students will only see this work by then. This one is already available. So let's see it from a student's perspective. So if I go to all topics in my classwork, I can see textbook and my first assignment. So yeah, that's available, and it's already got a grading available, which is for 10 points. So if the student opens it, they can see, all right, there's tiny free student assignment 1. It made a copy specifically for the student. I'm going to click view assignment as a student, and there's a turn in button. So let's just make this a bit bigger. A turn in button, which means if I'm done with my assignment, I can turn it in. However, I haven't done anything yet, so I probably need to start working on it. I can add some comments like, I don't understand this, which someone can of course reply to, like my instructor. Whoops, let's just say send that comment. And I can of course add my own content in here if I need to add something that I needed to create myself as a student, my own document, start working on it, link to a file that I've created with different software perhaps, or maybe I used Word or something that I've added in Google Docs. So I can then go to my own computer to link files, create content directly from here, so you don't need Word installed on your computer. You can just start typing with Google Docs as an example. Or I can open this assignment that's been created for me. And so this document is now, of course, for my student themselves. And if I edit it, it's only going to be for student free. Here is my answer. I think Unit 1 was cool. Not the best answer, but we're going to give the student good points for it in any case. I can close it. It automatically saved it. And if I'm happy with my answer, I can say turn in. So now it's going to say this attachment would be submitted. And I say yes, please. turn it in. Now, the time for it has not been reached. It's not next week, Wednesday, 5 p.m. yet. So if I want to, I can go back in here and I can say, oh shucks, I need to change something. I spoke to a friend of mine and Kyle said we need to change certain things. He gave me better ideas. We work as a group, so that's great. And for this assignment, we can, of course, discuss with other students' ideas. Well, you can decide on those rules, but in any case, so I can then say unsubmit, and I click unsubmit as a student, which gives me the possibility to change certain things, add content if I want to. If I'm happy with it, I can then turn it in again. If I want to leave private comments, I can then say, remember to add content. And I click send. Then I would see my own private comments in here that's not added to it or shared with the class, maybe as a reminder for myself to change certain things. So I've now submitted this paper. I can click on these buttons at the top left corner to go back to my class and maybe go to classwork and start working on other assignments if they are there. So over here it shows in classwork that it's been turned in. If I belong to multiple classes, I can then see various different classes that I'm enrolled in. For instance, let's go to student 1. If they click on this, they're enrolled in English as well. So the English course and the IT course shows up there. So let's continue. As an instructor, I've now created this content. I can create various different types of content. I can create quiz assignments, questions, and I can reuse certain posts if I want to as well. So we'll get into more details about those topics later. So this gives us the basic idea, a really good basic idea of how we can start using this content. Let's go to class material again and say, all right, let's create new material. Call this one useful links online. And say, please use the links below for research. I can then say add a link and I'm going to add my website. .sabttech.com. Add the link. There's no white papers in there, so you probably want to use reputable links from universities or education.edu links or something for a specific content that you want to add. But there's a specific link, and I'm going to add another link. We all know students, whoops, not file. Add link to the most useful site if I don't know where to go to, www.google.com. So let's say add link over there. So I've created 2 links for them to use, but this would probably be links to white papers or online content or a specific scientific calculator for a math class, mathematics or something like that. So I'm going to say post this. Before I say post, add it to class material. And I say post. And let's see what it'll do. There's my useful links online. I want textbooks to be on top of that, so I can also use these buttons to decide to move up and down, or simply move it by dragging it up and down as well. So if I click on it, it opens it up like you can see, very useful to view. So there's my useful links and the 2 websites in there that I can utilize. My students, of course, will now see it as well. So we've gone through people, how we can add different students in there. We can also email students from here directly. I can also select all of my students and then say email all of my students directly as well, which can be very useful for a specific enrolled class. Send a message to all of them very quickly. Or if a student has moved, they're not part of the class anymore, I can simply select the student and say remove, and they will be removed from the class. So those are some useful features that we can use there. We can also decide how do we want to sort these students, by last name or by first name potentially. That's all up to you. Now let's get to a very important point, grading system. So if I go to grades over here, I can see already that my classes over here have their assignments that they've entered. And of course, if it's been submitted, we can start marking them. So I can give grades for these various different students. So over here, I can see small student. I can view their submission. And the one that's been submitted is actually tiny student. So let's go to tiny student, view submission. And it says turned in. There's my answer. I think unit 1 was cool. I'm like, whoa, that's not enough effort. I'll be kind and give you a 5 for now. And I'll say return, and it says the students will be notified and check any grade you've left. And I go return, and they can of course dispute it, and I can decide to change it if I want to. But now I've marked it. So I can see there's a point for this student already. Now, how will the full point system work? Or the full grading system work? Of course, I can see my grades for various different papers or questions or whatever I've submitted, but I can go and set that up in settings. So let me just show it once again. Top right corner, settings button over there. So let's scroll down in class settings. So there's our very useful grading system. I'm going to choose weighted by category and show the overall grade to the students. So let's create, you can also grade it by total points, then simply by calculating our first assignment is 10 points, our next assignment is 10 points, whatever points you give it. If I eventually have 10 assignments, each of them are 10 points, then I would basically have a percentage out of 100. So whatever the points add up to, that's just the total points grading system. Weighted by category, I can then say, all right, let's add a category in here. And I'm going to make the first one weekly discussion forum is, let's say, 30%. That's a high one for weekly discussion forums. Weekly assignment work, that would be another 30 points. Add another graded category, so I'm going to say graded quizzes. Here we go. Let's make this one 15%. And then add another category for final exam and it shows you, very useful, what's remaining if you can't calculate out of your head so quickly, 25. So there we see 0% remaining. I can then review and say, am I happy with this? And I say no. Discussion forums, I want that to be 20%. Weekly assignments, I want it to be 20%. Graded quizzes, I want that to be 20%. And the final exam, I want that to be 40%. You have to prove you know the work. But that's at least my thinking. You can decide how you want to grade it. So there I've added in my graded or my grade calculation. So according to a grade category, your assignments would then be marked accordingly, according to a percentage. So there we can see I've got a 5 out of 10, but there's no overall grade yet. So let's go back to classwork and go back to IT First discussion forum. View this assignment. And there we can see each student has got their own work that I can mark from here. And then for the graded bar, this one has been graded already, so I can see how many has been graded and what this assignment looks like. So let's just go back to instructions and let's edit it from here under the instructions, and I'm going to say for this assignment it forms part of my weekly discussion forum. It's 10 points for this one, and I'm going to say save over there. So now for a student, not the student, let's go, the students over here. For a student, if I go back into IT class over here, well, they'll only be able to see their own grade. Let's go back to ours rather. Let's go back to IT class. Sorry for jumping around. For our IT class, go to grades, and we can see that currently this student has 50% as an overall grade, because it is graded for discussion forums. But this would obviously start changing, so it just gives you an overall progress of what the class average is at this stage. But as soon as you finish the whole class, you can then start calculating and say, you know what, with the next assignment or the final exam, because they only have 60%, they technically need to do good marks to make it if they need to get 70%. So I can warn certain students about their grades and get an idea of where they currently are. There's of course a lot more to it, a lot more that we can add, but in next videos we'll start adding more content to this. I think we're going to stop here for the classrooms. We're going to move over to the first streaming software that we want to showcase, which is Discord. Very useful videos. Please go and have a look at it. And after that, we'll start looking at other features, like Google's own streaming software, this Zoom as well. So, see you in the next videos.